Perhaps it should come to no surprise that the fascist-leaning right has embraced the game's iconography. What's more surprising, given to what the game spawned, it has amassed a thriving fandom of young leftists who see Warhammer as a great satire of the authoritarian right, and thus more relevant than ever. Oh wow, Warhammer 40k, it promotes fascism. No, it promotes fascism, even though it's a critical of Thatcher's government, and Margaret Thatcher's actually right wing, and it completely contradicts my normie point of view. Oscar, play the fucking game, okay? I mean, I haven't even read the books, and I know more than you. Stop being such a goddamn fucking normie, okay, bitch? How's it hanging, guys? It's your one and only Onyx Draco, and today we're going to be reacting to an article called Warhammer 40,000 is not ready for Hollywood. Now, I'm responding to this article even though it was made in 2018, which was quite a while ago. Let's read it. First things first, I have two big problems with this article. Here's the big problem. The article doesn't really understand Warhammer 40k itself. The article has this problem with the guilt by association. There are fascists in the community. Therefore, Warhammer 40k is fascist and promotes fascism, which is not true. We're going to read this about Warhammer being a leftist masterpiece and the fact that there are actually leftist communities within Warhammer 40k. Games Workshop recently announced, okay, so we're going to ignore some of the text here so we can make it quick. But Games Workshop biggest property, Warhammer 40k, is problematic at best. Now, as someone who likes Warhammer 40k, I want to punch this person in the face. Personally. However, they're probably a normie. I respect the fact that normies are very ignorant and don't understand the political satire of the game itself. 40k does not only glorify being the bad guy, it rationalizes fascism. Okay, now, this might not seem like confusion, but we're going to go back to this later. It rationalizes fascism. Learn some grammar, bitch, okay? It's rationalizes fascism. It rationalizes fascism. Man, this person's got to be a hardcore normie, I swear to Christ. So, sci-fi fans call 40k setting grim dark, blah, blah, blah. Consider the central character in the government he founded, the God Emperor and the Imperium of Man. The Imperium is a fascist dictatorship steeped in religious fanaticism. It's supposed to be the point of view faction of the game's setting. The good guys. On top of that, there's no rebellion. There's actually the fucking Horus Heresy, where there's actually, like, half of the fucking Imperium, went to war with the other half of the Imperium, and there were the humans in chaos, but okay, no rebellion. I mean, they might have a point there, because the Horus Heresy happened 10,000 years before the official events of Warhammer 40k, but guess what? There are also heretics who leave the Imperium to join Chaos or the Tau. So, yeah, this person's kind of ignorant. So, the Imperium is the most hellish dystopia in fiction, but it's presented as right. Presented as right, that's not even true. The Imperium of Man are still the villains. The good guys of Warhammer 40k, or the best guys, I'm going to call them, is the Tau Empire. And guess what? You say earlier that Warhammer 40k rationalizes fascism. The Tau are actually closer to communists because workers in the Tau Empire cannot be fired from their jobs, and there's no such thing as private enterprise. So, no, this is not correct. The Imperium are not presented as right. Which leads us to the Emperor, whose image was co-opted by Gamergate dickbags. See that? Guilt by association. Gamergate dickbags, therefore fascism. Yes, there are a lot of people in the reactionary or right-wing side that do have fascist points of view, but, you might as well say that, fucking God of War is fascist because fucking Nazi played the game once. You might as well say that water is problematic because Hitler drank it. To them, to who? Who? The dickbags. And therefore, that makes the game fascist? No. So the Emperor embodies real American ideals, which is actually a fucking satire because the Emperor is everything an American shouldn't be. You know, he's a fucking fascist. He requires 1,000 psychers to be sacrificed a day so that he can live. Now, this I do not know about, because I don't know much about 40K when it came out, like the old 40K and it being more metal. I think these are like the Slaanesh Marines. Yeah, I think they sort of got rid of the Slaanesh Marines and their fucking guitars and shit. 40K would fit perfectly alongside Rick and Morty and the Venture Brothers. I agree with the Rick and Morty one. Even though I haven't seen Rick and Morty, I understand that Rick and Morty is also a satire of fascism. So you have that too. So, has seriously retconning to do? No. Games Workshop might have retconning to do, but not in this context. The satire is already there. At best, they might have to Mel Brooks it a little bit and make the satire more obvious. Because Mel Brooks is, he has anti-racist and anti-fascist comedy in his movie, and it presents it in a way where it presents racists and fascists in such a ridiculous manner that they don't like his movies. It's not like American History X, which is a satire of fascism, and yeah, a lot of fascists like the movie, or Toxic Masculinity and Fight Club. However, a lot of anti-feminists like Fight Club. You know what I mean? Because satire can boost the worldview of the person who's being mocked by the movie. Maybe 40K is irredeemable. No, that is not true. 40K is already redeemed. It's already a fucking leftist satire of fascism. What might be irredeemable, and I'm not afraid to say this, is there might be some fascist fans who need to, rethink their problematic political views and shit. Like, that's their problem, not the game. That's what this normie needs to understand. Yes, every bad thing humanity ever did is institutionalized. Yes, there's also institutional, xenophobia against, space elves and anything that isn't fucking human. And they're even called xenos. So, anyway, there's like 4 claps to this. What's a fucking clap? We're going to look at some of the responses. Okay, this is obviously a more right-wing fan of 40K. I'm coming out right now. I'm actually left-wing, if you didn't know already. I have changed pretty recently. So I apologize if you're not left-wing or agree with my views, but here we go. So, right-wingers see it as, hey, don't make this game political. But 40K is political. And the person criticizing it might be a leftist, most likely a liberal, but they're a normie. They don't take 40K at face value. They have a bias against it because of the fan base. Because the fan base is obviously who you meet before you even know what the game is. And they probably made some fucking YouTube video or something and had a bunch of, fascists with 40K profile pictures that kept saying, fuck off SJW trash. You probably get pegged by your wife, cuck. Shit like that. Yeah, this one actually might be a good comment. So it describes Warhammer 40K as a universe. You can actually, it doesn't say which side to side with. Obviously, there are a lot more games from the Imperial point of view because they're humans. Like, you're going to want to see human protagonists. But are some Dawn of War games where you can play as the Tau or the Eldar or Chaos or Orcs. And there's even a game that's not really good where it's actually a first-person shooter where you play as like a Tau Fire Warrior. Yeah, it's called Warhammer 40K Fire Warrior. This is good. Okay. So, holy smokes, you have no clue. Ah, yes. Warhammer was created by nerds in Great Britain to parody the authoritarian quality of Thatcher's Britain and the nihilism of the Cold War. The fascist qualities of the Imperiums are not examples they mean for you to follow, genius, but to be mocked. In typical reactionary fashion, another denizen of the internet falls to the victim of Poe's law. No better than the neo-fascists who aren't bright enough to understand satire either. We found a fellow leftist who understands what Warhammer 40K is actually about. So, now that we found a good comment, we're going to go to an article that actually probably understands it a little bit more. Perhaps it should come to no surprise that the fascist-leaning right has embraced the game's iconography. What's more surprising, given what the game spawned, is amassed a thriving fandom of young leftists who see Warhammer as a great satire of the authoritarian right, and thus more relevant than ever. Oh wow, Warhammer 40k it promotes fascism. No, it promotes fascism, even though it's a critical of Thatcher's government, and Margaret Thatcher's actually right wing, and it completely contradicts my normie point of view. Oscar, play the fucking game, okay? I mean, I haven't even read the books, and I know more than you. Stop being such a goddamn fucking normie, okay, bitch? Okay, leftist fans point out that Warhammer has roots in the anarcho-punk scene of 1980s Britain. It was developed in 1983 in Birmingham, England, a city that was deeply affected by the Margaret Thatcher government, which enacted policies to shut down its industrial-based economy and weakened its trade unions. Oh, wow. This game... it definitely rationalizes fascism, guys. I'm sorry. I keep bullying Oscar. Sorry, Oscar. I'm sorry. Ignorance does not make you evil. You're only evil when you actually learn about 40K and decide to shut it down anyway and not recognize it for the satire that it is. I'm gonna look up Poe's Law, actually. The guy here, Oscar, it fell for Poe's Law. Without a blatant display of humor, it is impossible to create a parody of extremism or fundamentalism that someone won't mistake for the real thing. This person, what they really want, they're not going to say it, but they want Warhammer 40K, they want the Imperium of Man to not only be fascist, like they want the fucking Imperium to be stereotypical bad guys. Like you don't see anything from their point of view, you always have Tau protagonists all the time. Even though it's more about the universe rather than individuals, and you just, and then when the Space Marines come around, they're like, hey, we're Space Marines, we're fascists, oh, hail Hitler, swastika, yada, yada. I think that's how on the nose fucking Oscar wants it. Sorry, Oscar, not everything is black and white. Some things can be rainbows. But the game makes explicit the awful reality of fascist government. Players ignore the facts that the government has unrestricted power, citizens have next to no rights, military service is near universal and compulsory, and multiple branches of government and military have no accountability. Yes, especially Exterminatus, which is blowing up a planet because there's some fucking degenerate shit going on there. So I'm going to make my conclusion. My conclusion is that people like Oscar, that I'm pretty sure Oscar is a good person who doesn't want, actual fascism to happen. I'm an anti-fascist myself. However, if you're going to critique a game with a strong fan base, I recommend the heavier research you should do, especially if the fan base has a similar political opinion to you. For example, Oscar and I both hate fascists, but he thinks that Warhammer 40K promotes fascism, where I know that Warhammer 40K is a satire of it. So, I hope you enjoyed the video. Even if you're, a right-wing fan of mine, I hope you enjoyed that I destroyed this SJW libcuck, in your own words. Fuck it. I'm gonna end this video in a much better way. Like I always say, for the greater good.